Hey guys, my name is Cidiac and welcome back to another episode of Woodville here in City Skylines 2, where last episode we implemented our very own cargo harbour, which now allows cargo ships to make their entry into the region to pick up the goods to import and export from the great nation of Woodville. And if we check our exports real quick, you can see that the only exports we technically have are from the wood industry. We've got furniture going out, timber, wood, and our biggest export out of all of them, which almost makes up to half of our exports, is paper, which all comes from our big, beautiful paper factory where we don't have any workers. Okay, now we do have some workers. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe everyone got fired, a new boss took over, and now we're all back up and running. I'm not quite sure, but it seems to be our biggest export to date. Now, we also implemented a bridge, which I wasn't too sure about, and asked you guys what I should do with it in the next episode. It was almost 50-50, but I think majority of people want me to turn this into a tunnel. But a lot of you guys came up with some really interesting kind of concepts about moving the bridge further upstream. I could have the bridge utilized coming off this road, or maybe as this highway comes, it maybe goes straight over to lead into there, and we got a few turnoffs. There's a bunch of different options we can do, but for now I'm going to leave it until we work a little bit more with the area. Once we start seeing a bit more traffic within the Woodville region itself, then we'll really take, the infrastructure into our hands. But what are we doing today? Well, I mentioned last episode, we do need more people moving in here. We are losing quite a bit of cash, nearly 14,000 an hour right now. In terms of our workforces, we've got quite a few jobs available. My unemployment is fairly low, but I need a lot more people moving in to be able to fill those jobs, to pay the taxes, and ultimately get me a little bit out of debt. Now, I did say I'm going to think about planning a big city, maybe one of the biggest cities that we're going to build within this whole region. That we'll see how far we get, to be honest with you. But I think here is the perfect place to do it. It's big, vast landscape right now of flat land, which kind of works out really well. It's quite easy to build. We got some highway connection running through it. Good beaches at the bottom for tourism, which is really nice. And we can kind of build some suburbs and whatnot. Now, I don't want to go too crazy with it. I want to keep it nice and small and simple, very much like how we've been doing these towns. I don't want to add like 100,000 population like instantly. No sirree. But at the same time, I also want to think about trains. Now, before we go any further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock the ability to have trains. So unlock you, bam, 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 bam. I know what you're thinking, Seniac. This is going to cost you an absolute fortune right now if you want to start implementing trains. And yes, it will. But I think if we're going to start building a big city, we need to think about how we're going to connect up to the rural areas. And trains will be really, really good. And also we can combine them with the cargo lines as well. So, we'll see. We'll play around with a few things and get a few ideas. So if you are enjoying this series so far, then make sure you smash the like button down below. If you are new around here, make sure you do subscribe so you get notified when each and every single one of these episodes do come out. But it's looking beautiful already. It is looking pretty beautiful already, and I'm really excited to see where this is now going to go. So what I'll do first then is I'm going to figure out a very, very basic road layout that we can maybe stick towards when creating our little kind of city area. So it'll be kind of like a downtown area down here, and it will just sprawl out into all different kinds of suburbs. I have this roundabout here, which is an important junction leading into the highways there, which eventually could maybe extend into a tunnel that will pop out over on this side. So if I have that in my mind, why don't we start here then with a highway road. And this will be the dividing point right now for the city. So if I say, I'm going to randomly pick a spot and go here. So I'm going to bring that out, and maybe that will be an underground connection there just to give us an alternative option if needs be. Now, I don't quite know why I've done it with highway, because at the end of the day, it's kind of kicking in. We could do an actual ring road going around the outskirts of the city. Ooh, that sounds pretty exciting. So maybe it does kind of make sense in a weird way. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. But I need a kind of a bulkier road. So I'm thinking we might go down the 4-lane route. There's a 6-lane, which will be way too big. 4-lane route could do us pretty well. We could do with perpendicular parking or something like that, but I don't think that makes sense. Don't need any symmetrical roads. I think we'll just kind of stick with the 4-lane road. So let me just figure out as well my zoning to all of this. So that's a 112 there. Now, do you think that this is a wide enough spot there for houses to build, big row of trees, so they're not affected by the highway too much? I think that might be the perfect spot. So if I base that off there, I'm going to create, I wouldn't say a basic grid, but I just want to kind of create a grid very basically. What are you even saying, Seniac, right now? Just so I can figure out where my 4-lane road would work best. So I would say I don't want to go any more than that. So this road here is my center point that I'm going to work with a 4-lane road, just for now, that will tear through the suburbs, okay? It's the main artery road that connects to where we need it to connect to. So if I upgrade this then, and it doesn't really matter where I upgrade it, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be perfectly center, so I'm just going to go there. So off this, I will then pick a spot and come out to the 112 and just run this down. There we go. Just delete you. So that's as far as the suburb's going to go on that one side. And I should be able to do it fairly easy here as well. That's as far as you're going to go. Oh, it could actually technically go one further within the tree line. Unless I make this all wavy and come away from the grid effect a little bit more. Right, the question is then, how far are we going to run with this grid? So it will have to bend at some point. It will have to bend. So I reckon we take it to... So let's take it to where this currently is right now, and we call it a day on how far that grid's then going to work. I think so. I think this could be pretty perfect right now. That 4-lane road needs to kind of also tear through, so it does seem quite boring and basic as of late. But trust me, boys, this will be glorious as it approaches. So this is the main dragger road that runs into the suburbs. Right, coming off this then, we can do a few little twists and turns to make it not feel as gritty. But probably that is the bulk of the suburb area that we're ultimately going to be working with. Right, that sounds pretty good to me. Now, how do I do the connections from this to there? I've got to figure out how far I'm willing to run this down. Also, my next question would be, do I allow the standard roads to also pass through this highway that would eventually turn into a tunnel? Maybe no. Maybe no. So if that was the case, I would run down to there. And if I run back to a 112, which will be here, and then run this in, I'm just trying to figure out... Oh, it was actually going to snap perfectly to that anyway, wasn't it? Run you down to there. So this is just bare bones infrastructure to begin with. So I've kind of done it a 120 off this, because that there is a 64. So it's a 120 plus a 64, if that makes sense. So you'll have your 120 plus a 64, which will make it a 76 to go into there. And then that is my spacing I'm going to have. Now, is that too big? Is that big enough? I think that creates some nice blocks. Again, I know what you're thinking, Seniac. This is looking very gritty right now. And yes, you are right. But trust me, it will not look very gritty at the end. This is the most amount of grid you're going to get out of it before I then fine-tune it to make it look a little bit better. So that's the structure we're going to have there. We do need spaces for like train lines to run down if I bring them all in and stuff like that. That's why I'm kind of giving us a little bit of a buffer zone. And of course, we've got the road that is obviously going to bend around here. Now, the outer road leading around here, do I kind of keep that to being some form of a highway style road? Or do I keep it to a normal, whatchamacallit, normal-esque style road? 2 lanes, all that jazz, you know what I mean? I think I'll keep it to 2 lanes for now, and we'll see how we get on. So, if I just very loosely kind of play around right now with a little kind of perimeter. And then we'll try and run straight where is acceptable. To go like that. Very, very nice, very nice, very nice. Do the same thing on this side. So let me just figure out first and foremost where my marker points are. So that would be there. So we'll do a 176 and that will be... Oh no, it doesn't do a 176 there, does it? Does it? Yes, it does. And then that is your first kick in to there. So we're just replicating what we've got. I might do underpasses, I might do overpasses there to kind of alleviate traffic issues. But what I'm ultimately trying to do here is bring this first to there, and then we'll go on our little bendy-wendy again. So this perimeter road here is going to then kind of really take advantage of the park situation that we've currently got, which at the minute is currently non-existent. But we can create a nice little kind of city park going around the edge. So I'm going to leave it just to there for a minute, but we have this nice perimeter road running around, keeping all the vegetation. And then we're going to sprawl the city up to the edge of this road. You can kind of now see how this is going to work. So I'm going to have a bit of grid, but it's then going to go a little bit chaotic towards the edges. You know what I mean? That's how it's all going to work. So let's just kind of put a pause on this for a minute, just so we can get an idea for it, because maybe the integration of trains will also slightly change how we're going to be doing all of this at the same time. So we have unlocked trains, which means, am I able to put the train? No, I need to build a rail yard before I can do anything, which is slightly annoying. A rail yard is quite a large building, if I'm not mistaken. Right, let me just throw this. Let me just quickly put this. Oh, I don't really want to drop this anywhere because of how big it actually is. Oh, good God, this is huge. Right, if I just put you there, just so I can quickly add the extension line to here. Now, you can't add two, can you? I can add additional cranes. I can add additional storage, but not additional train lines. Right, I'm not worried about that. I just want to then get rid of this. Okay, so we can ultimately see where the rail line is going to be running out. Now, in reality... Oh, we've now got these stations here unlocked. In reality, we've got a two-way train track, which is what this is running on, or we've got the double train track. Now, this really only needs to run on a two-lane train track. Would this go across the waterfront here? Maybe, but it might go in a tunnel system. Will the train line run along down here? Maybe as well. If I was to look at train stations, we've got this train station here, this nice rural looking one, which is pretty nice. That is the European style one. We've got the French one, which has double train tracks, which is probably even better for us. We've got the traditional one, which has 3. We've got the EE Central one, which has 2. We've got the Historic Central one, which has... Is that 2 or 4? That's 3. I think the French one could be the way to go forward. If I just quickly drop that down. Hold on. Or this one. Which one looks better for us? Now, the 2 lines is obviously going to be a better one because we can pull a train off and then cargo trains can bypass going down it, which could be a good way to look at it. So if I deleted you, and then I could implement another train station further down here, and that would work out. So if I kept that there, and then that means we're going to be utilizing the train lines... And for now, I'll make it run through it. And bring you up as well. And then providing we place a bunch of trees down, it will feel integrated within the region. Ooh. I'm liking this. The first implementation of trains. So... We'll have to do a complex curve here. So if I went down by a 50, and then in, and then a 48, Is that okay? That's okay. That will do us just fine. So 50, bam, and then a 48. Or 50. It doesn't really matter. It does the same job. Right, that integrates there nicely. So we've got a rural train station for this vicinity. And then we'll eventually have another one down here as well. Now, the other side of it is, we do have small train stations. These are the default ones. I have a medium one, which is probably good. What do you guys reckon? Is that one way too big for this area, you reckon? Or should I kind of keep it to the smaller variants? It's a shame we can't have any elevated ones, because that would be nice. But maybe the small ones are going to be situated for if I do run a train line through all of here. Who knows? Who knows? That is the big question. Who actually even knows at this point? But you can kind of see how this is now going to be all integrated. So I feel like this could definitely work out in our favor. That is going to be annoying, obviously. This here. So obviously we'll probably eventually turn that into some form of a bridge. So if I deleted you, and we was able to build said bridge. So coming from, so I'm going to assume, yeah, that all sticks in. Is going up by 10 too much? No, going down to there. I think we're looking at, what is that anyway? Is that a 62-ish? Has that slightly bent? Yes, it has. Oh, I think the whole track's slightly bent, hasn't it? Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's gone all the way back. Okay. Right. Let me try that one again. Let me try that again. So just before the end, we're going to raise it up by 10. And then just before the end, we're going to raise it up by 10 and across. Now, how does that look for a bridge? That doesn't look very good. Let's be honest. It doesn't look very good. So what if I then situated this to go from here all the way down the full distance? And there's no distance there whatsoever. So this, where would you say that's about? Hold on, is that connection there longer than this one? I thought we had it set up identical. I'm sure we did. That there is a, how have I got a 240? A 240 to a 176. How have I managed that? Is the question. I don't quite know how I've managed that right now. Right, 176. Oh, no. It's a 176 from the road. So if I did a 1... Let me go normal here. 176 there, for example. I do apologize, everybody. There's me thinking I got it right. It turns out I didn't get it right. Oh my goodness me. Right, where was we? So, would you say about there and then it continue? Yeah. That's not too bad of a train bridge, is it? It's not too bad. It keeps this open, which is pretty sweet. And allows us to kind of then get on with things, which is not too shabby. The other side of it is I could have made it sunken down and have the road go over it, which is probably, for me, the better option, to sink the train line down rather than it go up and over. I like that idea a lot better, but I'll come back to that at a later stage. Right, so the 4-lane road needs to end at some point, and so does this. So I think this perimeter road here... Actually, we got to think about how the train line's going to run through. Now, will the train line run on the left or the right of this road if I brought it through? I might not never bring it through, but I'm just thinking if I do in the future, where would it go? I think I much prefer the idea of it going on the right-hand side. So, yeah, this... very interesting setup this is going to be right now. Very interesting setup. But if I just kind of pick there and ran you here, just to get an idea of where a train line could potentially run. Obviously, this line's got to come out and maybe connect into it somehow, but I also want to kind of bend and go the opposite way. So that's where we'll see a lot of differences happening for us with the kind of the cargo side of it. Right, for some reason my game decided to crash. It seems to crash every episode at this point. It's part of the feature, guys, of the video. But what I've done is I've had to redo the train section again. So what I decided to do was go with my other idea of making it sink down. I rather the train line slightly sink down and go under. But what it's led to me to realize is the landscape here is, I thought it was all flat, but it is slightly higher than the highway there, but it works nonetheless. Uninterrupted services. Now, I was going to originally talk about this here. So the idea was going to be to bring this in to then make it connect to what would be then considered a main line. Now, I don't know where the train line network is eventually going to run. So if I treat it as if the station I build down here is going to be the end stop, it then stops here, comes up here, crosses over here, we have a stop in Piper Mills, have a stop in Derby, and then maybe it then runs out of the region, and that can become our passenger service. Cargo, on the other hand, will be slightly a little bit different, but we can kind of play around with things either way. We can run a train line going out, but mainly it's to kind of have access to all these other areas around for the cargo train. So they could technically run a little bit different, but the train lines for the cargo would have to, yeah, if we use this as the main hub and then kind of skid it out that way, they're going to have to go technically the opposite way. So it's a bit tricky to decide what the best option would be to do for the cargo. And if I'm keeping this bridge, then do I create a train line that also matches it and goes over as well? These are all the tough decisions. I know a lot of you guys said to turn this into a tunnel, which I can do the same with the train line at the same time. But there's a part of me that likes the idea of also having a bridge, which is either a good idea or a very, 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 very stupid idea right now. So if I was to bring this down to ground, to Earth, which is 0 here, how would I transition this train line from being able to run down here? Now, it would mean that I'll have to kind of delete some stuff, and this is going to have to cause absolute chaos and mayhem as it runs through. We'll have another train line going over there as well. But I am hoping it does reduce the amount of vehicle traffic as they can then train and chew with relative ease. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Trains are really going to be a tight squeeze in this vicinity. But I'm hoping my extra roads, we can kind of create some bypasses at the same time. The idea would be with this, then if it kind of came round, it would have to somehow turn to go that way. Maybe it starts the approach of the bridge early enough to kind of continue to go over. Maybe that's where we can kind of do it. But if I was to say I was to do that then, and I went from a... This is the other thing as well. I can't snap this to the road. Oh, actually I could if I did it here. Right, where's this station going to run then? So if I had a small station... I mean, this is my other issue is how big these potential stations are going to be. I mean, I could have a station there. What is this here? This is the bus depot. A station here works, but the bridge is dropping down pretty rapidly. I could put the station here. I could run the station there, but it completely messes me up in all regards. That is a slightly shorter station. This is a medium one, which could also work out as well. Right, this is now asking me many questions right now, if this is going to be the right thing to do or not. A part of me really wants to run a train line through here to give them really, really good access. Derby's got the perfect spot here to implement trains. I'm not worried about the road because I can make it go through the road. It won't be that many trains running. I could do a train... I might have to do it here. Right, if I deleted this road and implemented, which is the better variant? I suppose they're both pretty much the same. The medium one can have station services. So if I was to implement, for example, this here, right? Yeah, it's deleted quite a bit, but this could be good for us. So I've got to now try and create a bridge going over, which in itself is going to be slightly tricky. No, it's not going to be slightly tricky. It's going to be really, really tricky right now to implement the bridge going across, especially with the cargo. But let's just see what it would look like for trains. So I know I've got to get to like a plus 30 at some point. So if I go to... You know what? If I go to the plus 30 straight out the door, just before the seaway line there. If I then... Oh, okay. I might have to anarchy this. Right. I know this looks ridiculous as of now. You can't do like a... Right, I can turn it into a bridge. You can't turn it into a... There's no other variant in which you can turn this into. There's no way in which you can create a different type of bridge. There we go. And then somehow I've then got to bring it down to 0. And... Oh, actually, no, I don't. I can actually bring it to... If I bring it to 20 just there, and we'll come back with it in just a minute. So yeah, you can see what I mean right now with how ridiculous it's going to be to implement a train network within this. It is going to be very, very difficult right now. Which the other and the better alternative would be to implement a tunnel system. But then when I look at this, does Piper Mills really need a train station? If I was able to push the train station back a bit more, I can make it a bit taller. But it doesn't really matter on the height of it. I could maybe pull it up a little bit with the move it tool. So if I selected you and you... Well, if I selected you and raised... If I selected that node and raised you up slightly, I could raise you up slightly. But it's not going to really do us any favors for anything else. It's a bit of a tricky system, isn't it? Especially with how short the distance needs to be for the train station. It doesn't feel super realistic. It really doesn't. So here's this ship about to come through right now. Which... It can make its way through. It just clips the top. Which is why the tunnel system is obviously the better option for us. The tunnel system is the better option for us, but the reason I wanted kind of like bridges is because I like the idea of seeing the vehicles and the trains crossing the water as opposed to going under as a tunnel. Now, if I didn't implement this here, I could maybe implement it over here, which could be then the better variant of the two. But we had the same problem there in regards to the train crossing over. Now, I could implement the train track along here somewhere that will have to cross there and then go up, and then it will have to kind of bend round to skedaddle out of here. All that's not a problem because at the end of the day, right, we are not crossing any major sections. Now, this is all because of the cargo harbour. Now, if the cargo harbour wasn't there, I wouldn't have to make the bridges as high, but they still would probably feel as ridiculous as they currently do. Now, I'm not saying subways are the best way to go about doing this stuff, because it's not the type of area to have subways in. But what is my alternative options? Now, we've got a school there, which will really benefit from the train station. There's not really any smaller train stations is the issue, isn't it? The train stations are fairly big. Even these smaller ones. It's like the perfect one would go here, but that's on my roundabout. You know what I mean? That is really on my roundabout right now. I don't want to edit anything else here. Like, that is the perfect situation for one. And it will be the same over there because I can implement one in. It's just I'm not liking this elevation here. I really am not liking it. I could bring it down. Oh, there's 2 nodes there. I just realised. Okay, if there's 2 nodes there, if I deleted you, and down to here, if I had the whole thing coming down to there, that gets rid of the awkwardness in the double node system. Then I can maybe bring you down to kind of hide the huge elevation change. See, now it doesn't look as ridiculous. Now it does not look as ridiculous as once before. Right, so with that said, I'm keeping the elevation here because this is going to kind of turn to then drop down and go in. So with this, we need to pick a point where it's kind of going to do that. So if I was to, for example, choose here, and let's say I went randomly there. Now that's up by a 10 straight off the bat. Running you down. See, that is not as bad. Once all this area is built up, it will fit in place. It will make it feel like it's meant to be in this vicinity. So then, what does the world's most awkward connection here going to look like? So I've got to bring it down to ground first and foremost. And I would like it on the ground pretty quickly. So I reckon I'm going to delete you. And can I select the node on this? And drop you down to the point where it's touching the ground already. And then we will keep that going to there. Find the bend. Right, I'm trying to do it with the space being as even as I can. But it never really works out. Oh, I know why it's not working out. Because we still have a little bit of this to kind of go straight. So I reckon that goes to about there. Oh, no. I thought I was bending then for a second. I've never had so many issues with a train line before right now. What is going on? Right, there. Okay, where's the snap here? There. 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 So that bends up and round to lead over, which is exactly what we kind of want it to do. Great. Passes over. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, obviously, we do have the cargo section that we have to work with as well. But it might be a case of where this runs also down this way, and then we kind of connect that up further down where we have this bending out. But this is mainly not to access the outside region. I don't want to have this train line connected to the cargo harbour go to the outside region. And the reason for that is it doesn't need to. It defeats the purpose because we have ships that go to the outside region. The train line is mainly to bring goods from around the region to the harbour to be then shipped out of the region, and vice versa, imported in, distributed around. So that I don't really need that on the main passenger line, and it's also a good idea to keep the cargo tracks or cargo trains off the passenger line. So it also makes sense to kind of do it like that. Right, there's a bit of a dip here. I'm going to slightly raise you up. I'm selecting trees there. Slightly raise you down. And that's good enough for me. We're going to plant a big bunch of oak trees to kind of fill all this area in at the same time. And then the perimeter road. This perimeter road here. We're then going to do a continuous bend. Running around with us. to which it's going to be the connection down to here. So that runs around. Why does it do that? Why is it on the snap at the very end? It kind of completely messes up. Oh, I don't like how it's done the bends here. What is going on, boys? I think we need to go to back to the standard bend. There we go. So that's our little perimeter road running around right now, which kind of gets us away from the grid format and then into kind of the sloppiness of the roads. And then we can create nice little walkable paths, trees, parks. It's going to look really, really nice in this vicinity. So if that goes to there, this train line's passing through, leads into here right now, into the industrial area. But what we'll have to make sure that we do is have it where the... oh, this is going to be my next issue. Well, it's not really my next issue. But I'm having the ability for these guys here to stop there. If I had them kind of come in, maybe go under an underpass for the road to connect in, might be the better option. If I delete this bend here, and on the road, because that is going to go underneath. So if I picked you to run alongside the edge of the building. Okay, deleted the building anyway. To bend in. Like that. It allows me to kind of have access to this area over here. But more importantly, it should allow me to also implement a bus stop, which I'll do just there. So this bus, at this moment in time, can also stop there. Oh, hang on. Hold on. Let me get rid of you. It needs to stop there first. Wait, hold on. What's it doing? Can it not go around this? Well, if I waypoint it. Wait, what is it doing here? So from there, it goes round and goes into there. Why can't I waypoint it? You know what? Scrap you off. You go there. Can I get it to turn off early? Right, okay. We've got it to turn off early. I'm going to put a bus shelter just... Oh, not there, not there. I'm going to put it here. Right, we'll delete you. Delete you. And then we'll throw our beautiful little bus stop there. Which I've got rid of the waypoint there. Got rid of the waypoint there. They'll turn in there, which is not the end of the world. They turn in there. I'm making it kind of go in to come back out. Now, if I switch this out for having a stop then, for example, here, and then going there instead of there, just shorten the distance of the bus route slightly, that could help us out. Now, the only issue with all of this is simply the fact that the people coming from Piper Mill can't get to the train station unless this line runs back down. So if I had another stop there, and another stop there, and another stop there, and then once it finishes up its run, rather than going to... Let me zoom right in here. Rather than going to Derby, it then stops at these stops as a way to kind of also get it to go to the train station. That's all we're kind of aiming for. They're able to go to the train station both ways. And then kind of the same thing's going to have to happen here, which it does it already for where we're going to implement the train station. So this is going to be a little bit of a pain right now, implementing this train station. It's going to be a big pain right now. Right, small station. No, I went for the medium one because it's got the services. Now, if I implemented it here on Butler Lane, I'm going to have to delete the road and the road there, unfortunately. They're going to have to now go. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Oh, I'm trying to delete the buildings within the buildings. Sorry, 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 but that's just how it has to be. Now, for us building a bridge over there, it's not an issue, okay? This is now not going to be an issue. My issue is... Actually, I need to push this back a little bit further. I think if I delete you and you, I've got to delete a little object there. If I get the road to come out by 2... Is this about right? I think that might be about right. I might push it to... No, there'll be fine. There will be fine. Because it pushes the train line closer to the road, which is really important. So, if I might have to redo said road, but I reckon... Is a 10 enough? Now, we don't have any ships coming across here. So a 10 should be enough. And then I've got to run this all the way through now. So, this is the downside. I could either keep it all elevated. If I kept it all elevated, I could run down here. I can run down there. And at this point then, I could drop the train line coming down. So if I had it drop down to a... Let me get rid of that road. Get rid of you. Well, they're going to de-zone anyway once I kind of build within the area. But let's say I went to there with a 10. Here then should be a simple bend. I mean, nothing's ever simple in this game, but there is your simple bend. Let me get rid of the zone in there and there. So that's now elevated up. So it allows me to avoid crossing over this. It keeps all this elevated. So this rural town is going to have a slightly elevated train line running through it. I don't know how they're going to feel about that. Honestly, don't know how they're going to feel about it. I know the residents are not going to be happy about it. So if I just bring this to there. If I bring... I mean, the reality is I can bring this. I'm going to bring that to there. And the bend goes here. Now, if I brought it a bit closer, I can make the bend turn a little bit later. Which is the better option for me. Some of these houses won't get destroyed because technically the train line goes over them. Right, I'll bring it to there. To which our train line goes like that. There we go. So you don't lose all the houses. I'm going to have to bulk up on the trees to make it look right. And then because this comes along and then drops down, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know whether I can kind of... I don't really know how to use the move it tool to the best of my ability yet still. But if I drop you... It's more of a gradual incline there. Leading all the way over. If I do the same to you, because it doesn't need to be as high as it is. Bit more of a gradual incline there. And somehow I've messed up my utilities, right? Well, what's happened here then with the utilities? I'm not particularly too sure what's happened there. I think it might be down to the train line issue. Do I have another issue? So what's the issue? I'm trying to figure out the issue here. Right, it's obviously this leading to there. That there makes us all connected. This has got no end. But it connects there, which is okay. Okay, that works. Right, that solves any issues I was going to have anyway. That solves any issues I was going to have anyway. So now I've got this line all running through. So technically I could go back and forth right now with a train. But it's not the reason why we're doing this. Now, granted, I've got to now continue this. And I want to bring this up to a 10 as soon as possible. I might need to anarchy this. So if I go just after... Alright, that's meant to be the all singing, all dancing run there. And I need to get it on the straight snap. And we will be roughly about here. So this is a case of, am I keeping it at this height? Right, so there's a snap-ish there. But I think we can theoretically run it to about there. To which that's a 70. Right, I'm not liking these snapping little angles right now. Snap to guidelines. Well, we can't exactly see what we're snapping to at that point. Existing geometry, zone, cell stuff. Let me go on the ground. This is actually a lot more difficult than you expect here. Snap to guidelines, snap to side of buildings, snap to 90-degree angles. I think that might get away with it then. So where's that? That snapping's about there. Raise you up. 62 by 65-ish we'll go with. Now, how do we feel about that? I wouldn't say it's the best. Right, that's a bit better, isn't it? That's a bit better. That does work out a bit better. But does that go slightly up? I feel like it doesn't need to be that height. So I'm going to... Oh, hello. How's that done that, then? Right, how do I make that now go down? Just that pillar alone. And not that. I'm not particularly too sure. But I'm not going to worry about it just yet. Because I just want this to run now outside of the region. So if I get on the floor. Back to normal. That runs in a somewhat a straight line. Right, what am I on? Oh, I'm on the bend. Right, there we go. If we go for a slight bend here. And if I go by a +5. And that point there, a +10. Oh, that's working diagonal, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to run +10 in a straight line here. So from there to there, down to 0, and in, down to 0, and then all the way out. Got my outer region connection. I've just got to then bring this up and over. So if this is going to stay to a plus... I like it as plus... Oh, I'll keep it to a plus 10. We'll keep it to a plus 10. Right, so if I went there with this and brought you out, which is one away, if I went... And I'm going to anarchy this. If I went to about there, if I created a node there, which allow me to delete you, all I've got to implement here is said bend. Now, all this is placeholder, okay? It's all placeholder for something that will eventually change in the future. But to have a commuter train line running through this whole region is fantastic. Let me now just get this to all connect. Alright, so I've spent a little time just kind of slightly updating it, and what I've done is now elevated the bend leading down to where our city is going to be. Just elevated a little bit more and dropped in some trees so it looks a tad bit nicer and slightly more realistic in the same way. Planted some trees down by the station here to kind of fill it all in. Same going over there. But the big changes is I've changed now how it then leaves the edge of the region. It was on the inner side. I've now put it on the opposite side. And then rather than it then following the road, which didn't really make much sense, and it looks like I'm then building a subway system, what I've done instead is swapped it to the other side so I can then tear through our forestry field to connect up to the main kind of area that we run through. And I think that looks a lot better. Would you agree with that? And just kind of make it look a little bit more realistic. I kind of planted down some big oak trees within the middle as well. So it feels like it now naturally runs through the region as it then leads all the way down. So looking at it from this angle, it comes in, crosses over the field, tears through Derby, Piper Mills, and then we'll have 2 stops in our little city area here. And then eventually, if we do have more areas dotted around, we can then kind of come off it with different interchanges for the train line system. So it all pretty much is going to work. Now, there's still a lot of work that we do need to do. There's still a lot of fine-tuning that I've got to try and kind of complete. But as of right now, it's all pretty much all looking pretty good. So stuff that I do want to eventually do is just make it easy and accessible as I possibly can for people to actually physically walk to the stations. Let me just get rid of those trees just there. Wherever they are nearby, like, for example, this station here, I know we've got a little path walking down there, but, like, cutting it through there, bringing this down to here, maybe having a little overpass or an underpass for easier access, and obviously making sure the buses take full advantage of being able to arrive at the actual stations themselves. Also, I want to change the bus routes entirely. I want to then kind of turn it into 2 separate loops. So we have a loop for Piper Mills, a loop for Derby, and of course our beautiful Beechwood area here. Because if I implement the trains, I can then just bring them all to the train station. That way they can hop on the train to get to where they need to get to. Now, the same in Piper Mills. We already have the buses coming here, but I need to make sure that we're ever so connected and as efficient as we possibly can for people to be able to get over there, especially people living up here. For them, it's a little bit of a journey, but I like the idea that for Piper Mills, the train station's within the industrial area. Not so much for Derby, but we could squeeze in a few little commercial spots over there. And then running through and down here as well as it leads down to another stop at the very bottom. We need to make sure we're taking care of all of that as well. Now, because we've got all the trees, we can do beautiful little walkways under the overpasses of the train line, creating a bunch of beautiful city parks and, you know, leisure activities to make this, what feels gritty at the moment, eventually will sprawl out into non-gritty areas. Make it a little bit of a paradise. And of course, I've got this highway connection, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, that goes over and it will connect to there, and it might turn into a tunnel that will eventually pop out to a road there just to create another shortcut. It's all dependent, right, on how busy the roads are going to be. Because we only really have one main road to get from over here to over here. which is here. I don't know how busy that's going to be, especially when I start building this area up with industrial and we have a lot more vehicles coming in. But I'm hoping the cargo trains can kind of low-key solve it. We've got them coming out, and that's how the main line's going to run, because I don't want to bring these areas, or I don't want the cargo harbour to go outside the region. I mentioned this before. I don't want it to go outside the region because that's what the ships do. I'm going to bring the cargo in the region to the harbour to go out the region via ship, and vice versa, in the region via ship and then distribute it to the region via the trains on the harbour. So these two lines technically do not need to connect. But I think this is the better option. It looks slightly more realistic, which I do like. Also then gives me access to access this area as well. So that kind of works out in many ways at the same time. Right, we're going to end it here, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. And if you have made it all to the end, I just want to say right now, a little secret message for those who made it this far. I need a name for my train line, so let me know in the comment section down below. But until next time, I will see you all soon. So, goodbye.